All right, back out in the garage again today. If you guys have been following along with kind of this build series on the back of the Jeep, we know we started with building fridge slide. The whole point of this, I had this rack in here. It sat a little lower. Fridge didn't fit underneath, so I'm having to redo the back of this. So step one was build fridge slide, get it working. Works great. Phase two was getting the floor built and installed, so plywood under the carpet here to mount fridge two. Now we got that all in there, we're on to step three, or part three of the build here. We're going to get the rack mounted back in here, and you can see I got my envisioning sticks attached to the rack here, kind of get it set at a level in here where I want it. This build may not apply to everybody because I'm adapting a little bit of stuff that I've done on a previous build, but I'm going to walk you through what I'm doing today, show you how I'm doing it, maybe at least get some ideas for your build. And just a reminder, if it's the first time you're watching, this rack here came from Harbor Freight. It's an ATV hitch rack. Where it's bolted together here in the center, there's typically a 2-inch tube here that bolts to that would go down into your receiver hitch on your ATV. As wide as it is right here, I think it comes out about 44 inches. Double check that now that I say that. 46 inches wide. So it fits in the back of the TJ just perfect back here. But I use that as a base to build the rack. Because we moved the cooler, we got to do a new mounting system for the rack. But it's $50, $55, something like that at Harbor Freight when I picked it up. So a heck of a lot cheaper than a lot of the options out there if you can fabricate some mounts. Flip the camera around. I'll take you into the kind of the front behind the seats there, show you what we've got going, how I'm going to modify this. But hopefully it'll give you some ideas of how to build off of this rack to make something like this work in the back of your Jeep if you're looking for it. Over the years, couldn't be happier with how this rack functioned before. It was exactly what I needed. The only problem was when we switched to the fridge, having it up on top here was just kind of made the storage less than ideal. So getting underneath the rack is going to be much more usable. Just make everything much better back here. But we'll get started today. Show you what I'm working with here, kind of how I did a few of these things, and how I'm going to modify it to make it work with the new setup. But take you along today, and I hope you guys enjoy this one. All right, going to do my best here, kind of give you guys a rundown of what's going on here. It's just a piece of 3/4 inch plywood painted black, kind of cut, contoured to fit around the Jeep there. It gave me kind of a bulkhead that kept everything under the rack from sliding forward. You can see the holes here. It's got matching set of holes in this bar and that bar. This board used to be bolted back here to the second bar back. And then the rack was that much lower. So I've raised the rack up about 2 inches, and I've brought this board forward. It'll come forward about 6 inches by the time I'm done. Down here on the bottom, this is one of my favorite parts of this build. Let me see if I can get this to, there we go, unlatch. Down here, I took just a regular old cam latch that you'd see, modified it to a little hook here, and this little hook just twisted around there, just latches underneath the footman loop right there and pulls this front down tight. So that's kind of the first custom bit that I did for this build to make it work. Fortunately, there's two sets of these footman loops that are about 6 inches apart. The other one's back about 6 inches, obviously. So just moving this forward, putting it on this forward set of footman loops is going to allow me to reuse this piece of plywood. Take a piece of just angle iron, just come up and catch the underneath of this. What that does, I'm going to bring you around the other side here. When you look at this from the side, it's going to allow my rack to sit back about 2-3 inches from here, and that just gives me better clearance to my seats when they fold back. Having this upright all the way up here, flush with the front of this, it just interfered. I've got some stuff hanging on the back of the seats and just kind of interfered with it. So this actually works out really nice to push this rack farther back. from the bulkhead itself. Gonna have a little bit of a gap there, but not a big deal. But I'm gonna go get these brackets cut, get this drilled, and we'll kind of get this sitting back up in here where it goes.
Well, I lost my audio, so you're going to get a bit of a voiceover here. What I'm explaining here, though, is that I used a little piece of the leftover angle iron, 2-inch angle that I used for the fridge slide. Build a couple of brackets here, hook to the bulkhead, and then capture the back of the rack. And you can see it's attached down to the floor with the footman loops and the clamps. Makes a nice solid mount there in the back. And then as you come around from this side, fold the seat back, and you can see how having that rack sitting back a little farther gives me a little better clearance, allows that bulkhead to sit forward, have clearance under the rack, and then the rack itself to sit a little farther back and clear the stuff that I have hanging on the back of my seats. I wasn't going to do it this way originally, but it turned out to be a bit of a blessing in disguise, if you will, that this worked out perfect for setting this up. So from here, we're going to move around to the back. You can see the roll bar comes down there. It's where the seat belt's mounted, but we're going to flip around here to the back. And I've removed the seat belts from the roll bar, the big box that sits right there, holds the seat belt. Took off the top mount and the bottom mount down in the tub. To get the whole seatbelt mechanism out. But I'm going to use the bolt, that big stout mounting bolt there, as the rear mount for the rack. So it's going to go from there, go over, pick up the back of the rack, hold it nice and stout there in the back, and give me super strong mount tying into that part on the roll bar there.
Okay, here we are, looking through the side window of the Jeep. I did a terrible job of bringing you guys along for the prototyping here, but here's what we came up with. Got a single bolt into our seatbelt bracket here, piece of 2-inch angle that I left over from the fridge slide, this piece of 1-inch tube I had sitting there, this piece of 1-inch angle I had in my scrap pile. You can see that's kind of what it looks like. I'm going to bring you around the other side of the Jeep. All right, looking in the back door of the Jeep here, you can see what it looks like sitting here. Probably going to end up knocking this corner off once I get final welded, and then there'll be a bolt down here and here that'll run down through to pull this up and hold it level, since we've only got one bolt here. But it still needs to be final welded, but it is bolted in place there. Swing around, get the bolts in place up there in the front on our risers, and there's our other arm. Just copied what I did on the other side, built it in place just because I'm sure it's not quite centered, not quite exactly measured right, whatnot, but turned out real good. Ended up pretty level, can't really see, but compared to the rail of the Jeep there, ended up nice and level. I did end up having to put a little spacer block there in the front. Not real happy about that. I might end up redoing it, but stuff happens sometimes. So let me come give you another shot from inside. Okay, here we are inside the back of the Jeep. You can see toggle latches latched on the footmans. Got our little brackets there. Everything's tied in, and it's solid as a rock, I'll tell you. Very happy with how it turned out. Well, I almost forgot one thing for you guys. If you remember, I said I had to move my shovel from my bulkhead up there because it was taking up a little more space behind the seat than I wanted it to. As it turns out, right here on the little bracket we made to hold it happens to be a perfect place to put my quick fist in there. And this is just a short-handled shovel you get from Lowe's. It'll have a Velcro strap at the top to hold the top, and quick fist clamp right there, and it just tucks into that spot right there. So that's the new home for the shovel that left from behind the seat. But I wanted to show you guys that in case, again, spark some ideas for you. But shovel mount right there, that's its new home. It's going to work just fine. So anyway, almost forgot, but decided I better get that in there for you.
All right, guys. One more thing I thought of while we were working on the bed rack, or the storage rack cooler slide project here. Through this whole thing, I've kind of talked about wasted space and trying to minimize wasted space. So I wanted to flip this camera around here, and I'll show you one little thing that I'm talking about here that I found a way to utilize. Okay, first off, there's kind of a payoff shot of everything in there. That's everything I haul on the trail. Tools, recovery gear, air compressor on that side, cooler under the slide here. And then right back in here, you can kind of see, because of the way the TJ is, I've got this little bit of wasted space right there that's not being utilized because of where the cooler is. Well, I have this little battery box. It's a off-brand. This is a refurbished one. I picked this thing up for like heck of a deal. Nice little box. But I don't know if you can tell by the shape and size of that box sitting on top of the bar there. It is a perfect fit to go right down in here on this build that we got. So today, before we wrap up this video, I'm going to show you how I'm going to build a little bracket, little shelf inside there to hold our battery box. So let me get to it, and I'll show you what I'm doing. Okay, you see what we got back. Just kind of threw together a little wood shelf and attached it to the wood bulkhead up here. So it's good and stout. I used pocket holes. I have a pocket hole jig, so I used pocket holes to attach that nice and stout. Here's our, I'll show you this in just a second, but this is what you have to do. You reach in, drop it over into that spot right there, and it's perfect. So just want to give you a quick update as I was working along here. Sorry I didn't bring you along for this part. That was a lot of just trial and error, trying to get that wood right size, right configuration. It just was a bit of trial and error. That's a pretty good trick. I just managed to remote start my truck by bumping my leg against the bumper on the Jeep here. So it's a good thing I'm headed out here in just a second. But there you go. That's kind of where we're at. I'll give you a little bit more detail. I got to go find some wire. We're gonna do a little wiring project on this too. But quick update. All right. Sometimes these boneheaded ideas of mine start to snowball a little bit. That's what happened with this one. This one snowballed a little bit, but kind of happy with how it turned out. Kind of happy. Could have been better, but it's not the best thing I built, but it works, and I'm happy with it. So let me show you. Let me flip you around here first. Give you a little rundown on this little box I got here. This C-Tech I don't know where it came from. It's a knockoff box, but let me flip you around. Give you a little rundown on it. All right, here's our little box here. C-Tech I have no idea. Somebody on a forum somewhere posted that they had a bunch of refurbished units that were like $70 for this. So it's about equivalent to my little Jackery, 300 watt hour or something like that, 280 watt hour. I don't remember exactly the specs on it. But it's kind of a cool little unit. Have to push and hold the button to turn it on. Maybe. There we go. Push and hold the button to turn it on. Got 12 volt out. It's got USB out, and it does have a couple of 110 volt outlets down here. And it also has a 40 or 60 watt USB PD quick charger. That's an in and an out on that. So that'll give you a ton of power out on a USB if your device is capable of it. Kind of the unique thing about this is you see over here, it's got 3 12 volt outs and a 12 volt in down here, and they all work off the same little barrel connectors, so you can kind of mix and match what you want to do. So for example, if I want to run my fridge, I simply plug in a cigarette lighter outlet to one of those and then power in right here, and it comes with a couple of different accessories, but this will be no surprise to anyone. I put an Anderson connector on it. So this allows me a ton of flexibility with my other Anderson connectors, other power supplies, solar, you name it, to run power into this box through these adapters. I got something that'll just clip right onto a battery if you wanted to power the box and give you the inverter. So both of those there. Now we'll come down here, try to give you, whoops, get that strap out of the way there. Try to give you a little bit of a rundown of what's going on in here. Let's get that out of the way because it's just in the way. So we got a little shelf here. Like I say, it's just screwed nice and solid to our bulkhead up there. This is where our unit will sit. I also put some
webbing in here. This is just a strap that goes up and over the top, and we'll lock it down in here. But if we come back up here to the unit, you can see I've got it in this case. This is just a Molly bag I got off of Amazon. I actually have two of these bags now, one of them for my Jackery and one of them for the C-Tech to put these in. The nice thing about it is I can put all sorts of accessories in the outside pocket here or even inside, but keep all the accessories right there handy, and then just zip this up and have everything. With this unit, let me pause you guys for a second. I'm going to get this hooked up, set in there, and kind of show you what it is in there. All right, here we are back underneath again. You can see in place here, fits into this holder nice, strapped down. Not going to go anywhere. Remember, the fridge sits right here, so can't come out of that spot anyway. But you'll also see right here, there's another little Anderson connector. And you can see down here I had to use some apparently bonded red and black 18 gauge wire. Is kind of hard to find these days. Two auto parts stores and a hardware store too didn't have any, so I had some trailer wire, peeled off 2 strands of the bonded 4-strand trailer wire. Don't tell anybody that I didn't use the correct wire there, but that's what we did. So now all we have to do is, once we strap it in here, here's our power into the box, and then this one I've just wired, run up through the Jeep, goes up front, and it kind of plugs into my cigarette lighter up there, but it's kind of permanently run in the Jeep. And if I need to use the cigarette lighter for something else, I just simply unplug it and it kind of stuffs there behind the dash. But that's how this hooks up. Hang on just a second. Can't connect Anderson connectors one-handed, no matter how hard I try. But there you go. That's all it takes, is just plug that in there, stick the extra wire underneath, and it's connected to the Jeep. The unzip a little bit here, you can see got our controls on this end, and can run it the box back here. All right, kind of one last shot here for you. Down underneath, there's a box, wires all tucked out of the way, but that allowed me to use that unused space to mount a battery box in there. Cooler's in there, mounted on its slide, and you can see all my Jeep stuff. That's pretty much everything I carry. Little extras there. Pretty much everything I carry on a regular basis. Underneath here was still a little extra room. So totally thrilled with how this turned out. This is great. You can see got the brackets here painted up on both sides, installed. I'll try to get some light in there for you, but there you go. There's the rear end. Oh, there's the shovel mount in where it goes. Strap up there on the top. And another little thing I did down here, you probably can't see it, but right in here is a piece of aluminum, so that the blade of that shovel's sitting on a piece of aluminum angle down in there, not tearing up carpet or wood or anything like that. Just kind of a quick and dirty way of getting the shovel a little more stable in there so it won't do anything. But there you go. All right, everybody. I know this this rack build was kind of, this third episode here, third installment, was kind of all over the place, but we got a lot of stuff in here, a lot of stuff we did on this. I hope you guys can take something out of this on how to do some of these things. Maybe make some ideas of how to custom build a rack in your Jeep. Probably not going to come up with the same thing that I came up with here, but hopefully you can come up with something that works well for you, and get some ideas off of what I did here. And anyway, hope you guys enjoyed that one, and we'll catch you on the next one.